I knew something was wrong the second I heard the trimmer. Wrong pitch, wrong rhythm. Not my yard guy. I stepped out my side door with a coffee and a level head and found a stranger on my grass and the HOA president Victoria Hale inside my property line carving my 6-foot hedges down to the bone like she was pruning arrogance off a tree. I build houses for a living, so I don't spook easy, but watching your privacy hit the ground in green piles will test a man. My name's Aaron Blake. I spend my weeks turning muddy lots into homes that pass inspection the first time. I like plans, codes, straight lines, and neighbors who wave without lingering. That's why I bought in Cedar Ridge quiet cul-de-sac mature hedges along my right boundary, and a sales brochure that said, Active Community Oversight, which I now understand is lawyer speak for someone will one day measure your grass with malice in their heart. Ma'am, I said, lifting my phone red light on. Why are you on my property cutting my plants? Victoria killed the trimmer and gave me a smile that didn't involve her eyes. Sightlines, Aaron. We can't have the street feeling blue-collar. They're hedges, I said. On my land. 6 feet. Within code. The board has discretion, she said, and fired the trimmer like a starting pistol. I didn't yell. Yelling doesn't fix a crooked wall. I filmed the whole 100 feet, her the property marker, her brother-in-law stuffing branches into bags, all of it, and walked back inside, that cold, steady kind of anger settling in. I pulled the Cedar Ridge covenants from the website, printed the whole brick 100-plus pages, and read it like a blueprint. There it was, masonry walls allowed up to 6 feet with setbacks I exceeded, and an architectural committee rule that said if they didn't respond in 14 days, an application was automatically approved. I highlighted those lines so hard the paper wrinkled. By sundown, I'd looped in 2 allies I trusted for different reasons. Nate Rios, plumber best friend, built like a job site. Dolly texted, say the word, and I bring a shovel. And Mr. Ellison, retired accountant, lived 2 doors down, poured coffee and told me his year as treasurer under Victoria was like counting coins while a raccoon watched. According to him, denials were favors, approvals were favors, and landscaping always meant her brother-in-law's crew. He tapped the bylaws with 1 knuckle. 14 days, son. She ignores what she can't control. So I drew the kind of plan I'd submit to a city footing depth rebar schedule, block type, bond beam drainage notes, citations to county code. Everything clean and boring and undeniable. Monday morning, I filmed the date on my phone, the application pages, my hand sliding that thick envelope through the slot at the clubhouse. ACC submission, October 5th, 9:02. The clock started. Silence. Not a letter, not an email, not a passive-aggressive sticky note. 14 days later, I had exactly what the rule promised: approval by nothingness. I'd already called 811, pulled the county's minor structure permit, and had rebar stacked in my garage like polite spears. I dug a straight trench after work, set the steel, poured a perfect footing, and then I laid block, the way a person prays, slow, steady, level, tap, scrape, check. Every 4th cell got vertical bar and grout. Bond beam capped the top like a spine. I set a time-lapse camera facing the line and watched the wall grow later like a gray sunrise. On day 5, the wall was 6 feet of quiet. I was hosing the dust off my boots when a white SUV nosedived to the curb. Victoria stormed out, cheeks the color of a stop sign. "What is this?" she snapped, grabbing a spare sledge leaned against a pallet. "It's a code-compliant masonry wall," I said. "Approved on day 15 by your favorite committee, the silent one." She pressed the sledge's head into the block like she wanted to see if it would bleed. Phones came up over fences. "Cedar Ridge isn't a prison," she hissed. "Good news," I said. "No one's sentenced to live here." Here's what she did next, because people like Victoria never back up, they sidewind. 2 days later, her brother-in-law's crew started throwing up a 10-foot lattice on the sliver of HOA common ground, abutting my wall, calling it a screen. No permit. No engineering. Crooked as a drunk ladder. It blocked winter sun on my patio and killed the grass like it wanted to prove a point. The bylaws were crystal, 6 feet max. County code said the same in bigger letters. I didn't email the HOA. I called someone who doesn't care about tennis captain politics, county code enforcement. Inspector Carla Nguyen rolled up that afternoon with a clipboard and a face I've seen on honest inspectors my whole career, tired, fair, unbribable. She measured, photographed, and taped a stop work order to Victoria's handiwork so firmly the wood flinched. "Ma'am," she said, "this fails county code, basic physics, and taste. 14 days to remove it, or 500 a day." That's when the paper war began. Envelope after envelope in my mailbox, improper lawn maintenance with a doctored photo of someone else's crabgrass unapproved modification for the very wall their inaction approved. Then a lien notice for unpaid fines that skipped every step state law requires. I didn't take the bait. I built a binder instead, my time-stamped photos with that day's newspaper in frame, the submission video, the time-lapse of construction, certified mail receipts, disputing each fine copies of the bylaw sections on top neon sticky tabs like traffic cones. Mr. Ellison looked over the stack and said, almost proud, "You're starving a bully with facts." The air got weird after that curtains twitching when I stepped outside, her friends pausing their morning jogs to glare at my wall like it owed them an apology. I slept light. I bought a set of small HD cameras, tucked them under the eaves, and the porch roofline aimed one straight down the run of block. My neighbors across the way, Petra and Jonah, were polite fence-sitters who finally said something useful while watering their rosemary. We see a lot from this angle. If you need anything. The night it happened, the notification buzzed while I was tracing duct runs on a set of plans. Motion on camera 2. I tapped the feed, and there they were, the 2 figures in dark hoodies sliding through my side gate like gilt in shoes. One of them hefted my own sledge, telegraphing it like a cartoon punch. I didn't grab a bat. I hit the floodlights with a remote and called 911. 2 individuals on my property attempting to damage a permitted wall, I told the operator, keeping my voice where I keep my level steady. I'm inside. Cameras recording. Not confronting. The yard exploded into daylight. They froze, then committed. The big one swung hard. The sound against a bond beam cap is a kind of sermon, solid, dull, disrespectful to the sledge. Lights popped on in windows. Petra's phone glowed in her hands. Sirens came low and fast. 2 cruisers turned in without drama and pinned the pair in headlights. On the ground, an officer barked. They folded like bad chairs. Detective Ruiz showed up with the plainclothes patience of a man who's seen this exact flavor of suburban crime, self-righteous and stupid. They seized the phones. One suspect was a familiar face from board meetings. The other had Victoria's knife-bright eyes and last name. The text thread they pulled made my stomach drop and my pulse slow, because now it wasn't just my word against hers. Is the problem handled yet from Aunt Victoria? Working on it, the reply sent minutes before my floodlights washed the backyard white. And here's the thing about neighborhoods, they're brave in groups. Petra and Jonah sent their video to the police, then to the community thread Victoria usually moderated like a queen. By sunrise, folks who'd never looked me in the eye were rolling down windows to give thumbs up. Stories started pouring out, fines for kids' scooters, denials for garden boxes, a ramp held up for months, while a friend got a gazebo in a weekend. The county looked at that screen again and opened a financial misuse probe tied to landscaping invoices and legal bills. Mr. Ellison walked over with a stapled summary landscaping line items 3 times normal payments to the brother-in-law's LLC legal fees that read like personal vendettas. It wasn't a rumor anymore. It was math with receipts. An emergency HOA meeting was called in the clubhouse standing room, only the kind of crowd you get for fireworks or scandal. Victoria tried to gavel order and talk about ongoing investigations in the voice of someone reading a denial at the DMV. I didn't raise my voice. I plugged in a projector with Nate standing behind me like a quiet refrigerator, and I hit play. First slide, my Hedges the week I moved in full and green. Second video of Victoria trespassing and grinding them down property pin bright in the corner. Gasps. Then the time-stamped application, the 14-day clause in big text, the day 15 first course of block, the doctored lawn photo next to mine with that day's newspaper, the bogus lien letter laid beside state law's checklist of due process, and finally, the night vision truth, 2 figures stepping into my yard. Floodlight sledge sirens, masks off faces on the wall larger than life. That is a baseless accusation, Victoria snapped when I mentioned the texts. You have no proof. Detective Ruiz does, I said. You can ask him. He's the one who seized your nephew's phone. Silence has a sound when a room realizes its fear was smaller than its power. Someone shouted, vote. The bylaws allow removal by majority at a properly noticed meeting with quorum. The sign-in sheet had lines of names. Hands went up like a tide. Victoria lowered her gavel like it had weight, and for once it did. She was out as president in under 5 minutes. The board member in cuffs was removed next. A forensic audit motion passed with a roar. Fines from the past year were voided pending review. People hugged in the back like they'd been waiting years for permission. The aftermath wasn't fireworks. It was paperwork. The county billed the HOA to demolish the illegal lattice and find it daily until it vanished. The audit found money bleeding to the brother-in-law's company and to a law firm that had functioned more like a letter mill. There were clawback attempts, civil filings, some quiet deals. I got reimbursed for materials and legal costs that shouldn't have existed, and a formal apology letter I pinned inside my garage like a deer tag. Cedar Ridge changed in small ways that mattered. The new interim board, Mr. Ellison at the helm, posted budgets anyone could read without aspirin. The ACC form became a single page with deadlines they actually met. I drew a little plan for a wire trellis on my side of the wall, submitted it on a Wednesday, got a friendly approved by Friday, and spent a weekend planting vines that blush red in fall. Some evenings I sit out there with a beer, let the day drain off, and watch the leaves reach for light. The wall that started as a boundary turned into a garden, and I won't pretend it isn't satisfying, knowing it still makes Victoria furious when she drives by, because nothing is louder to a bully than a rule they can't bend. People ask what I learned. I think it's this: a good man can stay good under pressure if he keeps his hands clean and his records cleaner. You don't have to match the volume. You match the facts. You don't swing first. You pour the footing straight. You trust the code, you call the number that answers to no HOA gavel, and you let the truth do the heavy lifting. It's slower. It's quieter. It lasts. Now I'm curious, where do you land on this? Was I too patient, not patient enough or exactly right to fight with paperwork instead of a sledge? Drop your take in the comments. Tell me how your neighborhood handles power gone petty, and share this with the one person who needs to hear that. Due process still works when you use it.